Welcome to the Cult Classic Horror Show. Every week, you can have the conversations you've always wanted to have about the films you love.
Shut up!
We're gonna get you. Not another peep.
Get rid of your distractions and prepare yourself.
Then lock your door. 5, 6, crucifix.
You got a big surprise coming to you. You're not going anywhere.
Well, hey guys, this is the Rob from the Cult Classic Horror Show, and we have a special treat lined up for you. Ty Andreaco, our very own bloody blogger, has set up an amazing interview with the Tamara Glynn from Halloween Part 5, Miami Vice, and many other things. She stopped by to talk to Ty. We hope you enjoy it, and do not forget to listen, subscribe, comment. We are on iTunes, Cult Classic Horror Show, and please go to www.cultclassichorror.com to read up and enjoy all of Ty's blogs and all of the new, latest, and greatest podcasts coming your way.
First of all, thank you. Thank you for talking to me. It's a real honor. I'm sure the fan base is excited to hear from you. My first question is, what made you decide to pursue a career in acting?
Oh, well, Ty, that's a pretty long story. To make a long story short, though, at a young age, I started singing in church and doing pageants, and that led to, modeling and doing commercials and stuff like that. And I was really young. I guess I was around, 8, 9, or 10 at the time. And what I first wanted to be, my main goal, my main ambition in life was, of all things, to be a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. And so long story short, I find out that they were only getting paid like $15 a game, back in the day. So I had the opportunity to go to a modeling convention, and there actually an agent from LA spotted me. And he approached my mom, and he said, hey, I would like for her to read for me, and I would like to sit down and talk to you, Donna, about bringing her to California, because I think she could do really well out there. So, and granted, I was just barely a teenager, if even that, and I was a small girl from, I was a small town girl from a very small town here in Arkansas. So going to LA was a very big thing for me.
Yeah. Did you grew up in Arkansas then?
Well, I was here until I moved to LA. And so we go to LA, and like I said, I was blessed. I went out there with an agent, and I started working immediately. And before you know it, hang on one quick second. Before you know it, I was booking, guest spots on TV shows, some of the big shows, the 80s, like Growing Pains, Knots Landing, all of that kind of stuff. And right after Halloween 5, actually, my mom and I moved back to Arkansas to take care of my grandfather who had cancer. So, and I've been in Arkansas ever since. Now, I travel a lot, and I've been behind camera for even more years than I want to tell you. But yeah.
Being from Arkansas, do you know the Clintons by any chance?
I have met them. Yes, absolutely.
Interesting. So, as you mentioned, your television credits include Knots Landing, Growing Pains, Miami Vice, just to name a few. But I think the fans would be most interested to hear about your experience on Freddy's Nightmares. Oh,
that was great. I was really excited to read for the role, and I was even more excited when I booked the job. The director was great. I'll never forget, and it's been, a long time ago, but I'm trying to tell you, they were very fond memories. The director was John Lucia, and the scene that I was in, the guy that played my boyfriend was his name was John Washington, and he was like George Washington's great-great-great-great-grandson. So that was just kind of neat because he talked a lot about it on set. But, anytime you're a part of a nightmare, whether it's, episodic or a feature film or Halloween, whatever, it's always a special treat and really fun and really cool to work with makeup effects and all that kind of stuff.
Great. Was Halloween 5 your first feature film?
It was.
It was. Wow. Well,
yeah, it was. And the cool thing about it is that I was already like a fan of the Halloween franchise. I mean, I had seen the original in theaters when I was 10 years old back in 1978. And it was very surreal in getting an audition, to read for it, especially a role of, that size. I mean, again, here I am from a very small town in, Arkansas. And it was really neat how all of that happened. I went in to read on a Tuesday or Wednesday. And I felt so good about the reading. They handed me the sides and they said, here you go. It's for the role of Samantha. We're going to put you on tape and we're going to overnight the tape to Dominic, who is the director. He's already up in Utah with Mr. Akkad, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, perfect. So in the meantime, my mother was working with Michael Mann, who was, the executive producer of Miami Vice and Crime Story and a bunch of, shows like that. So the next day after I read for Halloween 5, I ended up leaving for Miami to fly down there and do just a really tiny part on the last show that they ever shot. It was the series finale. It was called Free Fall. And I was having a blast in Miami, of course. How could you not, being 18 years old and you're on the beach at night with John Johnson and Philip Michael Thomas and you're watching all this from behind the scenes. Plus, earlier in the day, I did my role and everything. And I had been down there, I think it's a day or two, and I received a phone call from my manager that I had booked H5. So basically what I did, I immediately left from Miami and flew directly to Salt Lake City, Utah.
That's where it was filmed, Salt Lake City?
Right.
Gotcha. Did you get to spend any time with Donald Pleasant?
I didn't. Not personal time. I would bump into him occasionally, a few times in the makeup trailer. And I'll tell you, as I've always been in the past, he was a man who did certainly command a room. I mean, his presence was felt wherever he was, be it that makeup trailer. I mean, just, he was an amazing man. Very sweet.
Another question I had, the gentlemen that host Cult Classic Horror, they've already covered Halloween 5, and they had quite a few things to say about Matthew Walker, who played Spitz, your boyfriend, and his crazy behavior. And I guess now that I have the chance to ask you, do you know if that was the director's encouragement, or if that was him just sort of taking the reins, or he was a little wild?
Well, of course, I don't want to step out of boundaries here and try and put words in someone else's mouth. But from my perspective, what I can remember, it's been over 27 years ago now. I believe Dominic just let Matt kind of run with it. I do. As I believe he did Wendy, who played, Tina, of course. Yeah. But I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. I'm not trying to,
Yeah, I understand.
That's just, I wasn't around really for their specific, one-on-one, right there in your face direction with Dominic. So, and Dominic was very, he's a European director. He's done very well. And, he was more about just, I guess, letting it go and challenging yourself and just getting out there and feeling everything and having fun. And yeah, he's an awesome director.
Do you stay in touch with anyone from that movie?
You know, actually, Danielle and I bump into each other occasionally. You know, sometimes a text here and there. We also see each other at conventions. We were all together out in, not L.A., but I mean Pasadena. We were out there November of 2013, and of course it was, you know, all of the main characters from all of the Halloweens, you know, including Rob Zombie. So, you know, it was myself, Matthew, Jeffrey, Danielle, Kathleen Kenmont, Renee Gerlings, Tyler Main, Caroline Williams. I mean, we were some of the other original, you know, Michael Myers. And then a lot of us were together at Flashback Weekend up in Chicago. That was August 2015. And a lot of us were together up there. And it was amazing, of course. And my table there, it was so cool because Dick Warlock was on one side of me, and I had Don Shanks, of course, you know, our Michael, to the left of my table. So it was just a grand time. It was awesome.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. It's like a horror sandwich right there.
It is. It so is, and that's what I know that you're ready to move on to the next question, but I do want to say real fast. You know, that's the coolest thing about the genre is that it is. There's so much love, and we. In fact, I told someone the other day. I said it's amazing because more and more I see that we truly run like a pack of wolves. I mean, seriously, on social media, you can see it. You can feel the vibe, and everyone is so protective of like each other. And we're, you know, it's the fans, the cast members. We're, you know, it's almost like an out-of-body experience that I go through daily. I'm like, is this really happening? I mean, because there is so much fan love for the franchise as a whole. And it's crazy to see this after, you know, generation after generation. I mean, when I'm doing a convention, there will be 3 generations of, you know, a family that will walk up and go, oh my God, we're huge fans. And you've got the grandfather, the son, and the grandson or something, you know, it's very unique. It's very special.
Yeah. It definitely spans generations, that's for sure. Particularly Halloween, but yeah, it does. I wanted to ask you also about your career behind the camera. Could you speak a little bit about that? Sure.
So, as I said, my mom and I found it necessary to move back to Arkansas to take care of my grandfather. I mean, my grandmother was alive and everything, but my grandparents had a rather large cattle farm with cows and, you know, that kind of stuff. And so we basically moved back to Arkansas, and I figured, you know, if I'm going to be here, and I was so intrigued anyways, having been on set and been up close and personal with, you know, behind the scenes from, you know, especially like Miami Vice and then Halloween 5, and I was really becoming more and more intrigued with, you know, the equipment and what every key department head does and what their responsibilities are and all this kind of stuff. So I'm thinking, you know, my mindset is, okay, if I'm in Arkansas, I still want to stay connected to this in some way, shape, form, or fashion and continue to work. So I've worked for a few different local production companies. I've got my own production company as well. And I've probably to date worked on, I don't know, let's say probably, I think IMDb says 500, and I'm not sure that's accurate, but at least, you know, 250, 300, you know, commercials over the years. So I've spent my time here just learning and really just getting my hands on cameras and lenses and, some editing equipment and just really seeing what, it's all about. And I think it's important for actors to learn every aspect across the board, as much as they can, constantly, because I think with technology the way it is today, an actor's got to do more than only be able to act.
Wow, what is the name of your production company?
It's Interview Entertainment.
Okay. Also, I wanted to ask you about a certain horror festival that you're involved in.
Yeah.
It is a Hot Spring Horror Film Festival?
It's the Hot Springs, right? It's the Hot Springs International Horror Film Festival, and we are actually 2017 marks our 5th annual year. Bill Vaughn and I, my business partner, Bill Vaughn, he already had the theater here in Arkansas in Hot Springs, and he and I met. We started contemplating and kind of just pondering on we want to have a film festival. We want to have a film festival, and about the time that we didn't know what kind of festival we wanted to have is when actually, I guess you could say, I was given back to the Halloween fans, because all of that happened through Justin Beam, who is a writer for Fangoria and lots of, big online publications out there and print publications as well. But that happened back late 2012. That was a huge experience on social media, because he had put up something on the big Michael Myers page that carries about, I think, 1 million fans or whatever followers. And the coolness of that was he just put up, hey, I've been talking to Tamara Glynn on Facebook, yada, 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 and here's her page if you guys would like to go say hi to her. And he asked me if he could do all of that, and I'm like, sure, nobody's going to remember who in the heck I am. I mean, it's all these years later, and he's like, oh, no, Tam, you've got fans out there. And I'm like, I do not, and I thought it was a huge stroke at first. I didn't know really what to believe or how to absorb it. And so he did that on Facebook, and within no time, I mean, my friends just kept going. There were friend requests and all of that. Hi, how are you? We love you. Where have you been? We love Samantha. We love Samantha. I mean, it just kind of went through that feeling. I mean, it was off the charts. It was spectacular. Because all these years in Arkansas, I mean, I've been doing my, own thing. And one of the, two while I've been here, I was also previously married, and I have an amazing son, Alexander, who will be 22 this August. And so along with working behind the camera and, trying to maintain some level of positive productivity in life and doing right, I've had this amazing son. So, and he's away at college, and he's on the dean's list, and his major is broadcast journalism. So, life in Arkansas all of these years has been quite fun. But back to the festival. So that happens with all the Halloween bands, and so Bill and I looked at each other immediately and go, okay, this is the answer right here that we've been waiting for. We're going to have an international horror, thriller, sci-fi, fantasy film festival right here in Arkansas, right here in the Bible Belt. I was nervous about it. I'm like, I don't know how, because I had grown up in church myself, and things were, a lot more strict back in the day. I mean, we have come a long way in the past few years, definitely, but it's a higher end boutique festival, and it's absolutely amazing. It's like a love fest on steroids, and it's amazing that the relationships that have been founded and started at our festival. And we're all about the filmmaker. We're a filmmaker for a filmmaker festival. This is not a festival where we're all about the fans. I mean, there's enough of those festivals out there that are, covered and, even oversaturated to a degree. but we wanted to make it just really, really as special as we possibly could. And so, our first year, September 2013, Tyler Maine was here, his amazing wife, Renee Geerling. Who else? Oh, Jeff Burr.
Director of Leatherface.
Right. David Schmoller.
I just want to touch on him for a second because he wrote, David Schmoller, he wrote Puppet Master, but more interestingly enough, he also wrote Tourist Trap. Now, have you ever seen that movie?
Yes, I have, and I love it.
Yes, it is great. It is one of those little known, not very many people know about it, but once you see it, boy, it's a heavy hitter. But those are some big names in the industry right there, particularly for horror.
Right, and Patrick Ray was also here. We just had, and Eileen Gates was in for it as well, and we just had an amazing time, and we were all in tears when everyone had to get in the car and, head back to Little Rock to the airport. People were like in tears and they're like, we don't want to leave. And I'm like, I don't want you to leave. And, Bart Mastronardi, he was also here. Bart is very, very, very one of the finest cinematographers out there. And Bart even taught for a while, for years actually, at New York Film Academy. But it's been amazing. It's a huge blessing. It's a gigantic undertaking on our part, on Bill Bolland's part and myself, and it's so worth it. I mean, like I said, we're all about the filmmaker, and, we want filmmakers. We want to bring people in who are as knowledgeable as we can possibly get in with the budget that, because this is privately funded, even after almost 5 years, it's still privately funded for the most part. But we want to bring people in that these filmmakers can get up close and personal to, up close and personal with. And, how cool is it that an indie filmmaker who's just, he's just got his first, whether it's short, whatever the length, it doesn't matter, but to be able to get up close and talk to someone like a Jeff Burr or like a David Schmoller, or for an actor to be able to talk to, excluding myself, because that's the time that I am in full festival mode and I'm wearing 50 different hats. But for someone to get up close to Tyler Maine or, it's very nice.
It's like a priceless experience, yeah.
Right, it is. And it's cool because everyone comes back.
Yeah. They must really enjoy it, yeah.
Right. It was cool. Our festival in 2016, we just had it in, this past September. Alan Hellworth was here. And along with Alan being here, it was so special to me. I'm sitting in the theater, I'm listening to Alan do his live show, and I'm like, oh my God, this is, I'm going to have to pinch myself. But the cooler thing than even someone like Alan being here, which he's one of my favorite people in the entire world, unexpectedly, there were a filmmaker couple that showed up, Ashley and Matt. They're from Chicago. I had met them at Flashback Weekend up in Chicago in 2015. They submitted their film to our festival in time for us to screen it in 2015. So they came in. Back in September, someone opens the door and I look up and guess what? It's Matt and Ashley. They had so much fun in 2015 that they came back in 2016.
That's great.
And I love it because they're all like, it's really cool that you're Samantha, but you know what? This is like 100 times cooler. And I'm like, this is what it's about.
Yeah.
So, it's just, you just feel like you're doing a good thing. And, we do the festival we're in it for the right reasons. A lot of people are out there doing things that they just should not be doing for all the wrong reasons. And of course that leads to nothing but failure. And, we're doing it for the right reasons. Our hearts are definitely in it.
All right. A couple other things here. I just watched your the short film you were in, Howl of a Good Time.
Nice.
I have to tell you, your makeup was creepy. I mean, it was unsettling to look at you, which is a far cry from Halloween 5.
Well, thank you I'm going to take that as a huge compliment. And our special effects guys on Hell of a Good Time, that was Tim Welch and the guys out of, what's the name? Oh, Scream and the Dark Effects out of Omaha, Nebraska. So,
Nebraska, huh?
Yep.
Huh, how about
I'm telling you, because, Hell of a Good Time was shot the first part of the day, during the festival in 2014, Leslie Easterbrook was here, Renee Geerlings was back, Chris Lazaro, there's some familiar faces in there. Mm-hmm. And Patrick Ray, we knew that we wanted to work together, but I was being very, very particular about, and I still am, about who I work with and the projects that I'm doing and everything. And Patrick and I knew we wanted to work together. So I said, hey, let's, write something, whatever. And so it all came to fruition. Yeah, it's the 2014 festival. So our DP was out of LA, Hahnemann Brown Eagle, one of the best DPs out there in the industry today. We had our makeup team out of Omaha. We had our first AD out of, Dominic Weinecke out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Our crew was there. It would be nice to, actually look at a map and put pins on it to see where it was that widespread. It was awesome.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. I guess that's the information age for you. You can pull people in from everywhere and pull together.
Especially it's nice when you're trying to get that, when you're trying to get that many shots off that fast when you have a film festival actually going on. Mm-hmm. And, I know for a fact that I think all of our years combined experience, it was way up in the 100. There was a crazy number. And but that's how we were able to pull it off with a great crew. And, Leslie Easterbrook is amazing. Also, Timothy Andrew Edwards was in that year. He's a great composer, sound guru out of L.A. And, we did it.
Yeah. Amazing. The last thing I wanted to talk about with you was you have a film coming out in 2017. Is that correct?
I do.
The Possessed.
Oh, The Possessed. I'll tell you a little bit about it, what I can tell you right now. This started out on a Saturday afternoon between the writer-director, his name is Sean Anthony, and he has Harvest Moon's Productions. Mm-hmm. So it's a Saturday afternoon. Sean, the first time we're speaking on the phone, and he's like, hey, what's going on? And we chit-chatted for about an hour and a half, I don't know. And I said, I really get your vibe. I really respect where you're coming from with your, values and your method of madness on this. And I really had a lot of respect for Sean because he made it a point to learn the business side of the industry first, before he even got into the filmmaking side, because the business side is so important, and that's the great area that so many seem to leave out. And so anyways, he and I are talking, and I'm like, hey, I'd love to work with you. And he's like, okay, well, I've got this film coming up, and I'll write you in a cameo. And I'm like, hey, cool. Well, the cameo, it went from a cameo to basically a supporting lead role.
Yeah.
And I play basically a psychiatrist, psychologist type. Her name is Dr. Tabitha LaVey. The film is set in New Orleans, so I'm super excited about that, to be able to
set in New Orleans, hence the LaVey.
My southernness going and everything, but you know, I'm super stoked about it. It's really cool at my age, and I won't tell you how old I am, even though I think everyone out there knows. But you know, the days of me being a scream queen or me doing anything like that, I mean, that's kind of null void, over said and done with. But it's really cool to be able to come back after all of these years and do these roles of this magnitude, like because the role of Tabitha, it's a very powerful role, and I think everyone's going to be quite surprised and very excited when they see it.
Yeah, as you said, it was written, or it was originally supposed to be a cameo, but became a more significant role. You see that a lot lately, that people have been bringing in these names from horror to just sort of give a film legs, but that's really usually what it is. It's just a walk-on, walk-off, you know, type of role. I'm glad to hear that, you know, a name as important to fans as yours is getting a little bit more screen time.
Yeah, I mean, and it's awesome because Sean Anthony is such an incredibly strong writer of women's roles, and there needs to be more writers out there like that. We need more, you know, of those beefy roles in film. I mean, we do. And Sean has managed to do that, to write those roles and to do it very well. I can tell you to date, I have probably turned down about 40 offers, just because I am super picky and super choosy, and I do have son and family to think about the work that when I do accept a role. And, you know, is this something that my son's going to be, I mean, I just, you know, because I am a mom, and that's above and foremost anything and everything in this entire world. The rest of it is just icing on the cake. My son, his feelings, you know, that really comes first, especially in the industry as a whole, but with social media and everything else that goes into this. And I'm so proud of this role. And the script is what I was going to say is it's one of probably the top 3 out of at least 40, maybe even 50 that I've read just in the past, I would say 3 years.
Huh. Well, that's really exciting, man.
Yeah, and it's exciting for a director to say, you know, I have huge respect for you, for your work. I am a fanboy. And Sean was just pointing out, I mean, he and I really connected, and I'm super excited to work with him on this project. I'm super excited because we are going to challenge each other and take each other places in this script and on screen that I certainly have never been, and probably that it's, you know, going to be somewhat a first time for him too. So, yeah, it's going to be awesome. We're shooting on location in New Orleans, and actually I'm on hold to leave. So yeah.
That's great. I guess I want to ask the burning question in my mind right now. Do you still have the devil costume?
No.
From Halloween?
No, unfortunately I don't. I wish I did. But let me tell you something. After that thing was a mess, and I know that it's out there somewhere. In fact, I need to ask Malik Akkad where it is, because I'm sure Malik knows. But no, that thing was a mess. There's how many times that the dry cleaners are hand washing it took to get all of the FX blood, and I mean, it was ew. Yeah. I mean, to where I think we wrapped at daylight, and I'll never forget just thinking, oh my God, just get this off me. It's just so nasty. It was gross. really gross.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time again. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to me, and I'm sure your fans are going to be psyched for the new movie and psyched to hear this interview.
Well, I hope so. They're super important to me, as they know, because without fans, where is it? I mean, that's the whole point of being an actor is having fans appreciate and really like the work that you do, and for you to be able to entertain them. And I love the Halloween fans. I love the franchise. It's very classy, and to me, you know, we've got the best franchise, you know, out there. I'm not partial, but you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it did. Let's be honest, it did start slasher films, you know.
Well, it did, but it's, you know, it's all about the kills and the execution, and there's so many out there still to this day who just try and copycat it, and I'm like, leave it alone. Quit trying to do what Carpenter and Deborah Hill did in the COD. Just let it be, you know. But yeah, I'm forever grateful. I mean, I never would have thought in a million years that this many years later, due to social media and technology, that I mean, just the following, it's a lifelong journey. It truly is, and I'm forever grateful.
All right. Well, I guess that's where we're going to end the interview. Thanks again to Tamara Glynn. 2017, The Possessed. We'll keep an eye out for it. Thank you very much. Well, thank you for having me on the show, Ty. I appreciate it. Oh, anytime. Call back anytime. All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Goodbye. All right. Bye-bye.
Don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
Oh, yes. There will be blood.